Consider today a very good day for American history and for world history. Well, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here because nothing has actually passed, but Hillary Clinton has just said today that she is moving from her I don't want free college tuition position to what Bernie Sanders has been advocating all along, which is free college tuition. So let me tell you what she now wants to do. She wants, or she's advocating for, free college tuition for all Americans or all households that make less than $125,000 a year. That's almost everybody. That's basically everybody. That excludes the rich who can pay for their own college tuition, presumably. Not even presume. They can pay for their own college tuition. They definitely can. Okay. So that is a huge thing. And if you think about the history of, this is great for the world because we are just one part. We're one country that is moving along this higher education trajectory of a highly literate society, highly literate world, highly educated world. In North America, we are 95% literate. We are very educated in North America. In South America, they're pretty decent. In Europe, they are highly educated. In Australia, where they're highly educated. The only places left are India, which has 1 billion people. Indians are still struggling greatly with their education system. They still have a lot to make ground on, but Africa has to make the most ground there. Still, I think only 40% of their 40 million children are in school. Only 40% of 40 million children are actually in school in either Africa or sub-Saharan Africa. You can fact check me on that. But this is a great move. Now, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, education was only reserved for the elites because the cuneiform system, let's say in Mesopotamia, was extremely difficult to learn, and very few people as a result knew anything about it. In Egypt, it was the same thing. Hieroglyphics were extremely difficult to learn, and therefore only the elite scribes would learn it. And not only that, but they realized that it was such a privileged status position that they wanted to maintain it, so they purposely, intentionally made learning hieroglyphics more difficult to keep the general population what's a word, subservient to them, into what they think. Basically, they mystified themselves, like made themselves on such a high pedestal that nobody could reach them. Anyways, as we move on into the future, from a couple thousand years ago, eventually universities started popping up. About 1,000 years ago, you got your first universities in Europe and elsewhere. China was starting to have their own little universities as well, where they taught mathematics and astronomy and all this. But even still, populations were very, very illiterate at this time. We're talking at the beginning of history, or really just 2,000 years ago, at the beginning of this adventure in education, we were all less than 1% literate in damn near any country we went to. Any country you would go to, you have like a 1%, 3% literacy rate. For instance, in ancient Israel, it was 3% about 2,000 years ago. So, and now here we are at in the 19th or in the 20th century, where after World War II, You had the GI Bill and all. This is where the revolutionary thinking really begins, where they start passing free primary school, like compulsory primary school education, where you would have to go to school. Otherwise, it would be punishable by law if you didn't send your child to get an education. And here we are in the 21st century, and the movement for free education has already begun. The United States it's not dead last. I mean, there's 196 countries. I mean, we're pretty high up there if Hillary Clinton passes this thing. But Germany free, Brazil free, France is free, Finland free. A lot of Nordic countries are free. Norway, for instance, all these are free college educations. In some countries, they're like $200 is the tuition. $200 is the tuition. I was talking to a guy, or not really talking to a guy, but I was reading an article that Noam Chomsky wrote, and he said that when he was a kid, or about my age, I'm 25, he went to college and it was about $100 for him, which translates to about $800 now if you adjust for inflation. So, the world is moving forward, people. It's moving forward. This is really great news for everybody. And, as they say, as the United States goes, so does the world. Is that true? Not so much, not really. But, people in America say it anyway because we like to think we're great. But yeah, so keep your head up. Keep your head up. Things are getting better.